Having discussed about diffusion and imbibition, now we are going to take into account a topic that deals with a special type of diffusion. I need not to emphasize that this word osmosis, you're not dealing it with the first time. You have read about it, you have the simplest definition of it in your mind, if you can recall, that there is a presence of semi-permeable membrane that you're going to need, which allows the movement of through and through solvent would take place. Okay, through and through movement of solvent takes place through a semi-permeable membrane. No solute can go through semi-permeable membrane from one side to other. Then we have solutions. Okay, the solution could be hypertonic or hypotonic. We're going to discuss it, that what these solutions are. When you watch the lessons where we have practical importance of these terms, you can understand it in a better way. Just keep in mind that in hypertonic solution, the solution is more concentrated, which means that the solute particles would be more, and in the case of hypotonic solution, the solvent particles are more as compared to hypertonic solution. So the solution is less concentrated. So we have the semi-permeable membrane, we have the solutions, and the solutions, they show the movement of solvent particles. So we have solvent particles or molecules which move across the membrane. So this is what, and the last thing is solvent particles diffusion. This is what you understand from the definition of osmosis, which says that osmosis is a special kind of diffusion which takes place through semi-permeable membrane when the solvent particles diffuse from their higher concentration in a hypotonic solution to the hypertonic solution. I am repeating it, that osmosis is a special kind of diffusion where the solvent particles diffuse through a semi-permeable membrane from their higher concentration in a hypotonic solution to the hypertonic solution. Now see it diagrammatically, it represents, supposedly this is a container, we have solution A and we have solution B. Solution A is hypertonic, that means it has more solute particles inside it like this and less is solvent. Okay, the molar concentration is higher for the solute, and we have a hypotonic solution which is having least number of solute particles in comparative terms. This is the hypertonic. Okay, this solution is hypertonic, this one is hypotonic, and please remember these two terms, hyper and hypo, both are relative. So what will happen, this part is a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, you know what is a semi-permeable membrane, you know the examples as well. So we come to the main activity part. Now what will happen, the water which is in abundance over here comparatively to the quantity of solutes will diffuse from its higher concentration. The solvent will diffuse from hypotonic solution to the hypertonic solution until their molar concentrations are equivalent. Okay, the diffusion would take place. This process is osmosis. Okay, now this is the simplest way you can understand osmosis. In this lesson, we are going to take into consideration two more factors, one being free energy and the second being chemical potential. Chemical potential whenever the solute is different, and because we consider water as the universal solvent, this is the chemical potential of solvent we talk about. And you know, in most of the living cells in the biological world, water is the most abundant solvent, it is the universal solvent. So when we talk about chemical potential, we are talking about water potential itself. Okay, so we are going to analyze the definition of osmosis in terms of these two factors. So let us see now. There would be a semi-permeable membrane. There would be solutions hypertonic and hypotonic. There would be solvent particles whose diffusion is going to take place. But we have to consider the same definition in terms of free energy. Okay, you have idea of what free energy is. Free energy of the solute particles, if I am talking about over here, because you see in the given solution there is so much cluttering, the solute particles have lesser free energy. So because there is no diffusion of solute taking place, we are going to consider the diffusion of solvent. Now consider the free energy of solvent over here and consider the free energy of solvent in this case. As you can see from the diagram itself, over here the solvent molecules have a greater free energy, while in this case the free energy is lesser comparatively. So analyzing the definition in terms of free energy, we have that osmosis is the diffusion of solvent particles from this solution which has their higher free energy. That means the solvent particles at a higher free energy level diffuse through a semi-permeable membrane to the region where their free energy is lesser. Okay, this is one in terms of free energy, one definition. In terms of chemical potential, the solvent is having higher chemical potential over here as compared to this region. Why it is so? Because as you can see, chemical potential depends upon the number of particles that are present in given region, okay, or molar concentration you can say. Now this solvent over here, consider it as water. The solvent over here is again in higher concentration as compared to the solvent in this region. Now the solvent has greater chemical potential, and if the solvent happens to be water, then the solution B is having higher water potential as compared to solution A. So what would be the definition of osmosis in this concern? That the solution which has higher water potential enables the diffusion of water through the semi-permeable membrane to the solution in contact which has a lower water potential. So the water would move from its higher water potential concentration to the solution which has its lower water potential. So this is all about osmosis that you have to know, the simple definition that you know about, and the definition in terms of these two factors, which is one is free energy and chemical potential. And do keep in mind, because there is a diffusion of solvent that is taking place, so we are going to consider free energy and chemical potential of the solvent only. Solute is not taken into consideration because it does not diffuse. So this is all about osmosis.